and my teacher, Mr. Van Hooley, started like opening up the test book because he was so pissed that we had to do it. There was a picture in it that we had to write a story about, and it was two people, and they were looking down in like a stream, and you had to like write a story that got them to this point, and then what happened after. And he was like, "So you can write anything you want to. Maybe they're heroin junkies and they dropped their syringe into the creek. Who knows? Write whatever you want."
It wasn't a water park. We didn't bring in a celebrity. They asked for salads, and I was like, okay. 3 of these kids said, "I've never had a salad before. This is so good." One of them called it bussing, which I was like, I thought that was out. I thought we weren't using bussing anymore. Kind of not giving me the best, like my favorite audio, but I think it should be good. I didn't change any settings, so I don't see why anything would be that different.
Okay. My volume or yours?
It's just volume in general. It might just be my headphones.
Okay.
Yeah. It's.
You have no snare in your headphones?
No snare?
Oh my God! It's from an Eminem song. Are you tired?
I don't. Yes, I am very tired.
It's the way he starts, "The Way I Am," right? Where he's talking into the mic. He's like, I don't have snare in my headphones.
I only know the popular Eminem songs.
Okay.
Yeah, don't.
It's funny because I was thinking of C is for Childhood, and I 100% have an Eminem story.
I've never even seen 9 Mile or whatever it's called.
Did you say, who's the boomer?
No, Gen Z doesn't like Eminem. They're like, we gotta cancel this guy for saying all the the slurs and stuff.
Ooh, he makes you so mad. You're just so offended.
So offended. Cool. Okay. Sorry. There's
nothing to apologize for. You're fine.
Damn, you sound like my therapist.
Well, then stop paying them.
Just pay me.
Once a week. This is the sesh.
This is the sesh. It truly is. Although I've been getting into going to the gym and like meeting with a couple of guys. We're up to 2 guys who meet in this guy's garage, and that's been huge.
Nice.
Like, meet some friends, you know? You inspired me with your whole bowling team story.
That, I swear to God, that kind of thing matters. Like, we had fun week at bowling because, like, our 33-week league, like, we call it the pregnancy league. Like, it's a full term. And then that league ended. And so we had the fun night, and you get to, like, pick who you want to bowl with. And there was, like, I don't know, 20 lanes worth of people that I would have been fully fine spending, like, the entire evening just, like, bowling with and shooting the shit. It was great.
Oh, that's so nice. People need that.
Adult friends.
It's so nice.
And I don't know what they do for a living, and I don't think they know what I do for a living, and we just bowl.
And just eventually they sent you a text being like, "Hey, I saw you on TikTok that one time."
Yes, that's exactly what happens. Somebody I bowled with for years, she was like, "I saw you on the Daily Dot." And I was like, first of all, you shouldn't be looking at the Daily Dot. But secondly, like, yeah, no, that's a thing I do. I make posts.
We've been gone, like, we took a week off, and I don't think I told you the story about me getting recognized in public. It's
jackpot.
Okay,
C is for celebrity.
C is for celebrity. I gotta tell you this story, so because like I don't know if it was. I need your confirmation. So like I'm at this recruiting event at this local college. This local college is 2 hours away, and this girl comes up to our booth. And she is just, like, all about me. Like, her face gets, like, really red. And she's like, you know, like, what can I do to work at this school? Like, I'm just graduating. And I don't notice anything, but my coworkers do. And they start backing off. And she uses the word fresh, like, 3 times in conversation. Just like a nut. Like, hey, like, it would be, like, we could be, like, a really fresh pair. It was kind of like a mix between she was flirting with me and, like, I think you're, like, tapped in. I don't know. I count it. I count it as a celebrity interaction on my part. I am getting famous step by step.
That is significant as hell. Because again, my only times being recognized were so creepy and like not like that at all. And at least in your situation, it seemed like a celebration of like the positive things that you put out there. Plus, I don't know, she thought you were cute.
I mean, yeah, that I'm giggling right now. It's so great.
Right. Oh, I mean, look, being flattered is okay.
But being flat earthed is not.
I think you can be both. I think that Venn diagram overlaps. I'm so excited. That's really exciting. So
Yeah.
is this going to be a colleague now?
I don't know. My principal was with me. He's like, dude, one day in the summer, I'm gonna call you in for an interview, and this is gonna be her. I just need you to get prepared. And it's not because we think she's anything special. I just want to see you be awkward as hell.
I would give anything if she was in the interview and then outside the window you just had a boom box and just danced the whole 30 minutes, just like killing it. See if she could still focus, because if so, she could handle a classroom full of anything.
That's that might be a good little tactic. I hear. Do you hear on? You're not clued into teacher TikTok as much as I am, I think. Although you've been sending me a lot of teacher stuff. But there's like a trend right now of like people not getting hired.
No, yeah, I'm not on that at all.
There's a big trend. Like a lot of graduating seniors from college are not getting jobs, and it's bizarre because I mean, I have a male privilege in a sense of it's like I'm a really highly desirable person whenever I apply to a school. I get that kind of leg up, but I keep getting these stories all over TikTok of people trying to apply for jobs at schools. They're like my dream job, so maybe that's kind of the caveat, but still it's kind of surprising to see that trend happen on TikTok. I guess you haven't heard about it.
No, but I think I can speak to it, because here's what I know. I know that there are definitely schools that I would consider to be starter schools, right? Like the ones that you're applying to that might pay a little bit less, that might be maybe a bit more like rural in terms of being out of the way, like not even the demographic, just like not having a whole lot of people that would be willing to make that drive. And so I think when I worked at a school like that, I worked there because they had Mondays off, and that was great. But the amount of new teachers that were coming in, and then they'd be there for a couple of years, and then they would move out to these other places. But I think the second thing is that this generation of teachers that's coming up and graduating has an expectation that they should be paid right, and that they should be working in a place that is desirable. So they're maybe going for jobs that people with experience are also going for. And it's like, I don't know. When I look at it, I've never been on a hiring committee where we're like, well, this person's too educated, we'd have to pay them too much. Like that doesn't really factor into the hiring process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to take the one with, if all other things are equal, I'm taking the one with experience traditionally. And like, that's probably the wall they're running into.
I go off vibes whenever I'm on a hiring committee.
There was definitely a guy we hired. And one of the things we were super pumped about was that on his resume, he was a new teacher, but on his resume, he was a Zamboni driver.
Oh, that's so cool. You got to put that on there. You got to put that on there.
Right. And then like, it was a thing that we're good friends now, but like, it was a thing that I asked him about. Like, so tell me about the Zamboni situation. Like, how do you get into that? Because it was so rad. But I don't know. I mean, that was an X factor. Ultimately, he was just the best candidate, but that matters. I mean, it's with that. I don't know. I'm getting a student teacher in the fall.
Oh, is this?
I've never had one. I've never had one.
You've never had a student teacher. Wow.
Never in my life have I had a student teacher, and I am so thrilled.
Yeah.
It's just the most. I've always wanted to do it, and it's just never been a situation that was in front of me for any reason. And frankly, I think now I'm at a point in my career where I'll be an effective mentor teacher. I don't know that I would have been the best to work with previously, and now I'm far more confident and able to articulate what I do and why I do it.
Oh my gosh, I am so envious of this person. I've had 2 student teachers, and I was not in the position you are with the experience you have. It was kind of just, I was the most experienced 5th grade teacher at the time, so they threw someone at me. And then I had the only ESL position at the high school I was at, so they threw someone at me. And I was like, this is great. I love this.
Yeah.
Like an extra $300 at the end of the year. Sick. Okay.
I get paid. You get paid for that?
Whoa. Sorry, I don't know.
I don't know that I don't. But I didn't know that I did.
I think
That's news to me.
I think colleges usually try and like stipend out something. I don't know.
Oh my God, that would be incredible. I mean, I'd probably end up just like buying that student teacher a gift card with it because like I don't. Yeah, you need the money. You just didn't work. I mean, I have to hope that they allow their student teachers to get jobs, but I know that's a thing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Which is
sure.
garbage.
Speaking of jobs, there's a new job available.
Okay, I you go ahead and intro this because this is your idea, but I think I have a banger of a list.
All
so
right.
You go ahead.
Yeah, we just got to get this out, and forgive me for my sacrilege or blasphemy, but the Pope died this week, and we have to talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're trying to hit that sweet algo. We need the Holy Spirit's direction, and the Pope died.
Mm-hmm. And if it's good enough for a push notification, it's good enough for us to talk about. I mean, that's urgent.
Listen, I loved Francis. I'm not a Catholic guy, but the way he would talk about certain topics and kind of the changes that he wanted to see, I'm like, that guy is vibes. If I was on the hiring committee for popes, vibes it is right there.
Okay. I'm not sure how to appropriately express my ignorance in this situation because I don't know how any of it works. I am not well versed in any of that. It's not really like a hiring committee, is it? They're just like them, don't they?
It's like
who is they? I don't even know who they is. I guess
it's like all the big cardinals from around the world, like that represent major regions, usually countries. They get together at the Vatican and they get into the secret Pope room, and then they all cast their ballots for a secret vote, and then whoever gets the 2/3 majority gets the seat, gets the new hat.
Okay. Oh my God, that sounds very much like Jeff Probst is there hosting it. I had no idea that it was like a ballot box situation. Like, do they? I don't. Oh, well, I guess they do kind of light a torch. Isn't there a smoke thing?
Yeah, there's a smoke thing. So I think there's like 9 days of like mourning. I'm not Catholic. I don't know anything much about this. I've been looking into some of the candidates. I really like the Filipino one. He's kind of cool. All about bringing the papacy back to Asia. Where it belongs.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating that for a religion that started in Asia, technically, because like the Middle East is Asia, but people don't really associate with that. It's been like 1,000 years since they've had an Asian pope or something. I don't know. I might be bullshitting all of this.
I'm bought in. I am bought in. And if you say it into a microphone, your credibility's so far up anyway. Like, it's probably true. And if it wasn't before, it's true now.
It's true now. We write the rules of Western Orthodoxy in this podcast.
So what are we doing, like a Pope draft?
Okay, we're doing a Pope draft right now.
Okay. Who are you taking with your 1-1? Who are you taking with 1-1?
1-1?
Round one.
Round one, pick one. Okay, so I was like going back and forth about you. I think did you add the?
Yes, I looked up. I looked up traits of a pope or values of a pope, and those were the 4 things that came up: humility, compassion, integrity, wisdom. So essentially, like I needed a metric by which I picked these people. Yeah. So I looked up some categories.
I just looked up famous Catholic people.
Oh. I didn't factor in Catholicism into my choices.
Technically, it has to be that way, but we make the rules now, and whoever is on your list deserves to be there. Okay. My first round first pick, according to IMDb, a famous Catholic is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's already been in a position of power, and I don't know how he did, but he's already been in one, so it can't be worse than, that.
Right. No, I think he has a face for it. I think he brings a little bit of that C is for celebrity prestige to it. I think that's a valuable number one. I'm glad that you focused on actual Catholics because I just focused on the 4 traits and literally nothing else. So my first pick is my friend Carlos. We bowl together. And he's really generous about letting me borrow his truck when I need it, and he'll help me move. But he also owns a ranch. And so I take my kids up there, and then we get to ride horseback for free, and he owns a roller coaster. And yeah, yeah, right. You see why it's a 1-1. And so
Wow.
Carlos, I think, really embodies the traits that any organization would want. Any organization will want Carlos to be the face of it, including the Wednesday night bowling league at Centennial Lanes.
Wow. But then again, it's going to take up his time, and he's going to be away from you. He's going to have to go to Italy and, do Pope stuff.
Right. But I mean, Carlos is pretty worldly. He's going to Antarctica soon because he does things like that. And so again, right, that's what he's a man of the people. He's definitely the most popular person in Longmont, Colorado. And so I think that speaks volumes.
That's a good round one, pick one. I like that.
Yeah, my friend Carlos.
All right. Do you want to just go top three? We'll top three?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. After top three, I don't know if he's Catholic, actually, but I just saw The Last of Us. I think Pedro Pascal. Oh, my God. What a man.
Okay.
I would love to see him in a position of power.
Real quick, is The Last of Us a show I need to watch?
Oh, man. It's a game you need to play. It's a show you need to watch. It's a life you need to live.
Okay, it's a culture.
It's a culture. It's a whole thing. It came out with the zombie hype in the early aughts, and it was like a PlayStation exclusive game. And basically the plot is in 2003, there was a fungal outbreak that turned everyone into zombies. And this one guy, Joel, he lives and he finds this girl who's like immune to the thing. And it's their adventures together in the end of the world. And he's really good at it.
I love everything about that. I'm so into all of that.
Yeah. And I just love Pedro Pascal. I think he's such a wonderful man.
And selfless. He wore that helmet on Mando forever.
He did. And what a fantastic show. And he wore a helmet. If he can wear a helmet for a whole season, for a whole 3 or 4 seasons, he can wear a Pope hat.
Heavy is the head that wears Mando's helmet.
He's got the neck strength. We know this.
So speaking of strength, then my number 2 is going to be Ken Griffey Jr. When we think of people that can be idols, right? People that large groups can put a lot of faith in. Ken Griffey Jr. put my entire childhood on his back. And I think he's still holding it up. I think he taught a whole generation of kids how to swing for the fences and ruined all of their own abilities because they tried to be Ken Griffey Jr. and none of us were left-handed, and it was just all a miserable failure. But I don't know. You name any kind of group that's not better with Ken Griffey Jr. that's a part of it. Like the Mariners sucked, and Ken Griffey Jr. turned that around on turf. Easy 2-2.
Easy 2-2.
Easy 1-2. Whatever 2.
Sorry, sports fans. I do not know who Ken Griffey Jr. is. I've been to a Mariners game though.
Well, it would have been the Mariners in the 90s, in 90s into early to mid 2000s, because he went to Cincinnati for a while and then he retired. Him and his dad hit back-to-back home runs. That's family values.
Whoa, that's like LeBron level coolness.
Okay, you think of LeBron and Bronny, but Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. did the exact same thing.
They
hit
cool.
Back-to-back home runs with the Mariners. They played together in the outfield. And he used to screw with his dad, where his dad would be calling for a pop fly and Griffey would just run in front of him and take it. It was so great to watch.
That's fantastic for 90s.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. highlight should be the focus of what you do as soon as this podcast is over. You will lose your mind at how cool he was. I was
gonna watch Speed Racer, but that might take the cake right there.
The live action one?
Yes.
Why? Is that any good?
I watched a video essay on why it is the most important movie of the 21st century.
Isn't that like Emil Hirsch? Is that what that movie is? Who's Speed Racer?
Oh, I don't know. Is it Emil Hirsch?
If I pulled that one out, I'm amazing because I have never seen that movie and I don't know who Emil Hirsch is. But I feel like that's a thing I have in my brain. Tell me I'm right.
Sorry. It's slowly gaining traction again. Stars Emil Hirsch. Wow. Wow,
Mhm.
great job.
Mhm.
Amazing.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't pick him out of the lineup. I don't know one thing he's done. I know
We
that
know
Emil
one
Hirsch is
thing
a
he's
speed racer.
done.
Yes, I know that, and I never seen it. I knew he did that. This is why I'm good at bar trivia.
You know who directed it?
Uh, no.
The same directors of The Matrix. The
Oh, really?
Wachowskis. Yeah.
Oh man.
Is that not wild? Just thinking
I
about
think
what Speed Racer was.
it's like super CG. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
maybe.
it's all CGI. It's all green screen. Well, not all.
Mhm.
And like this guy who was like analyzing it, this is the things that I love to watch. He was like going into like the focal length that they were using for foreground and background, highlighting all of the different ways that the camera was moving through scenes and making it seamless. And like it was really a masterclass in using like filmography to tell the story, like the
Okay.
cinematic aspects to tell the story. It just wasn't. I mean, I might say that the CGI wasn't there. It hasn't really gotten any better.
Okay.
And his argument was like it doesn't matter. It's taken from an anime and it
Mhm.
highlighted the things that make anime great. So sorry, totally off topic, but I watched
No,
this
that's not
whole
off.
video
That's
on
not. I don't think that's
Speed
off
Race.
topic at all. I
Maybe.
think it's funny because I don't know. Speaking of that exact thing, I saw a TikTok today that was the creators of South Park, and they were saying that their favorite part of Cartman is that he's really into photography, and like that he always talks about like filmography and like the angles of things, and uses like these super intense photography terms like all of the time, and that's just the thing that they love about him. So they try to work it in as much as they can.
That's so
So
funny.
he's probably a big Speed Racer fan too.
He probably is, as we all should be. Back to the Pope
Yep.
because we gotta
Yep.
move through this
We do.
busy
We do.
schedule. We haven't even gotten to the C is for
No.
technically. Okay, my last pick, Catholic according to IMDb, Danny DeVito, hands down is my number one pick overall.
Oh.
I just think that people would tune in and they would want to hear him talk. I would want to tune in and hear him talk. And Danny DeVito is my final pick for Pope.
Okay. Danny DeVito. See, I had so many options for my third one, and now I'm like I'm floundering around. But when I look at this idea of wisdom, I think so. Wisdom was one of our categories, right? And I think, and I've mentioned him in a podcast before, but if we want somebody who has no secrets, somebody who's highly intelligent, somebody who can truly lead, it's gonna be Marshawn Lynch, and
Okay,
and I'm right.
go ahead.
And when I think it's important for anybody in charge of a group to make sure that they hold the appropriate parties accountable when it's time to celebrate them and when it's time to recognize faults and areas of opportunity. And Marshawn Lynch has said outright that Russ and Pete Carroll should have handed him the ball, and they did not do that. And as a result, Seattle does not have two rings; they only have one ring, and that is why. And so, while he doesn't have that ring, I think he deserves the hat.
While he doesn't have the ring, he deserves a hat. I think that what a great bookend to this conversation. Aside from Marshawn Lynch being a good actor, I saw him in Love Hurts this year.
Oh my God, he's been in all sorts of stuff, and he only plays himself. He was on the movie with the middle school. Was it called Middle School? But he was like the PE teacher. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know the like fifth grader ones. Like
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I think I remember what you're talking about. Like Bad Kids
And
or
they
something.
I saw this whole thing. I never saw the movie, but
Yeah,
they casted it, and they were like really. I don't know. It's Marshawn Lynch. Like
yeah.
you're not. He's one of the funniest human beings on the planet, but you don't know to what extent he's going to take things seriously, which I don't even think should be called into question because apparently he went into that and they loved him. And by all accounts, he was excellent in this role. And like, yeah, Marshawn Lynch all the time. Do you know he's never spent any football money?
What does that mean? He's just
It
spent
means
like
that he has never spent any of the money that he has made from his contracts in the NFL because all of the money that he spends and donates is from his endorsements. He's just saved it and invested it. Marshawn Lynch has a bag of money because he spends no NFL money. None of it.
I don't know. That sounds like one of those things billionaires say where they're like, I still drive my Honda Civic from 1987 and I eat cans of beans.
You don't remember? He was on so many commercials. He did so much and made so much money from like at the peak of his fame when he wouldn't talk to any sort of media at all. He's like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm just here so I don't get fined. And then he was like on a pistachio commercial. It's like, man, Marshawn, you tell him. You'd only do what you want. And that's good.
I'm down with it. Vibes check out for the papacy.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. All right.
Those are our top three. Love that.
Would you want to deal with Coachella? Is that our transition?
I mean, kids these days don't know famous rock stars. I think that made me upset. You know, Benson Boone brought out the guitar player for Queen, and it was just like dead silent, apparently, for week one.
I think, okay, so, and this goes into one of our topics was childhood better pre-internet, because I was there. But I think the issue with things like that is that there's no cultural context because there's such a saturation within music, right? Like there's so much available.
So much, yeah.
That popular music isn't even necessarily a thing. It's just like what's popular around the algorithm and like the space that you happen to inhabit. And so there aren't rock stars. Like there's not like Taylor Swift. There's my cat and he's eating cardboard. But like even Taylor Swift, right? Like there's not going to be another one of her. Like because she started early enough. Like I don't know that level of celebrity exists. It happens momentarily. Like Sabrina Carpenter's massive, but weren't we just saying the same thing about Olivia Rodrigo? Like where'd she go? Like I don't know. It's just not like a consistent. Where'd Chapel Roan go? Like what, making country albums? Like I just don't know that level of rock star exists anymore. I don't think it can. I don't think it's possible.
You watch yourself with this blast. I let it slide with the Pope, okay?
Okay.
With Chapel Roan, I draw the damn line. I'm just kidding.
But do you think like who's a rock star, a true rock star that has come out in the last 5 years? A true like that's sticking around that like people are gonna go back and see to pack stadiums, and not just because of like a moment of nostalgia, but something that you truly followed. Like I don't know who that is. I don't hear my students talking about that.
Oh, man, that's a good point. I guess I'm trying to think.
Right, we're just into stuff. And then somebody else occupies that seat, but it's like it doesn't seem like anything's necessarily held onto, or that I can think of. I'm totally fine being wrong, but I can't think of the space where that's incorrect.
I think maybe Billie Eilish.
Okay, but even then, when did that album come out? I mean, that was like when did she win those Grammys? That was in
Grammys don't matter.
But that was for that album. I mean, when was her first album? When did Bad Guy come out?
What, like 2016?
2019. 2019.
Oh,
all
right.
So I accept Billie Eilish as a counter argument. I accept that.
Billie Eilish, you are a rock star according to our standards, which matter and are important.
Yeah, because she keeps on coming out and people continue to be super into it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I didn't see anything from Coachella. That was not at all on my radar, aside from that guy that was like vintage camping or whatever.
All I saw was like Yo Gabba Gabba and I think Weird Al had a session together, which is iconic. This whole Benson Boone situation with Brian May. I mean, yeah, it's Coachella. I heard people were like financing their tickets though, which is kids, don't make poor decisions with your money.
Yeah, so you can walk around Coachella. Like I just don't. I don't know. There's so much footage, and I'm not saying like we should sacrifice in-person experiences, but maybe we should if it's a down payment on a house.
Oh yeah. I think there's just so many local festivals around you or within like, 100 miles of you. And maybe that's just me, my East Texas attitude of like everything being 100 miles from you. That's not that far. That you can drive to and like get involved with people around you, get involved with bands who play specifically for that space. And you're probably going to have just as much fun as going to Coachella.
Oh, yeah. I can get into the rock epicenter of the world in like 100 miles. That's how close I am to Wyoming.
Is that Wyoming is the rock?
Yeah, Laramie? What?
Is that the place where they meet for the chopper meet? Like the...
No, that's Sturgis.
Oh, Sturgis. Okay.
But I don't know where that is. I just know... I don't know. I just remember that Sturgis still went on during peak COVID, and then there was like a massive outbreak at Sturgis.
These 50 to 60-year-old dudes who don't wash their hands.
Potentially. I mean, again, I don't know. I can't necessarily speak to the clientele of it as much as like, man, that was a lot of people at Sturgis, and then there was a COVID outbreak.
Wow. C is for COVID.
What? Oh God, never. That episode's never happening. I'm not ready for that. But I feel bad for COVID kids. Okay, so we're doing C is for childhood. All right. And so we are going to bridge the gap then between, I don't know, our own experiences, which are varied, right? Because you're in your late 20s. I turned 41 in less than a month. So we were occupying, right? We were occupying completely different spaces. And so I think it's fascinating because it's testing season, right? My kids just got done taking the SAT. We have the AP tests around the corner. My daughters are taking all their state testing. Did you have to take like state tests? What did that even look like for you? Because I mean, let's just be real about it. I would have proctored your state test. so I know where I was, but what they look like for you?
Yeah, from 3rd grade up until 10th grade, we had some sort of state testing. Maybe we might have skipped 9th grade, but yeah, I'll just say 3rd to 10th grade. We had some sort of state testing, some standardized testing. It was the tax when I was living in Texas, and then in Ohio it was the OATS. It was like OATS or something. And
that's a shitty acronym.
Oh, sorry. I'll make sure to tell.
No, I don't think you're the PR guy. I'm just saying in general, like, it's tough to get kids hyped for the oats. Like, that's a garbage acronym. You gotta do better than that.
Well, we were living in the Midwest. It's Ohio. I think there's a lot of oats there. They bring out the Quaker Oat guy, the Quaker Oats guy, shredding on a skateboard. That'd be so sick.
Tell me, because I see those videos, and I 100% have been a teacher at those, but I don't fully remember being a student at those. But the ones where it's like the dude just doing sick BMX tricks, and it's like, I will never do drugs now.
Dude, they've been coming up on my TikTok. They still do it. It's just like
so good.
I saw one where a dude crashed so hard. He was doing like a backflip on a BMX bike. Oh, it was so bad. But he gets up and like he's like, everyone repeat after me. I can be a leader. Something. It's like, oh my God. You still have to sell it because if you don't, it's like, what am I doing to these kids? I'm traumatizing them.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And I don't know if it was a testing thing or not, but in the 90s we had the yo-yo guy. Did you guys have yo-yo guys?
The yo-yo guy? I don't think so. No.
I'm going to flip this. I'm going to get a nostalgic corner of the internet right now. There was a yo-yo guy, and I think a lot of people my age know exactly what I'm talking about. But in the 90s, there was this guy, and he apparently had done yo-yo tricks at like the White House. He was legitimate. And so he would show up and he'd do these sick yo-yo tricks. I can see myself at my elementary school. We were all just like gassed up. And then afterwards, he would sell his yo-yos, and you could get like the cool fast one, or you could get the one with like the brain in it that would like automatically come up. And we were all dedicated to yo-yos for like 10 days. Every year. And then the yo-yo was gone. But then a couple of years later, that guy might have been a different guy. I don't know. But it filled the same role. And then we got another wave of yo-yos. It was awesome.
I'm just imagining little Rupp with frosted tips and an oversized t-shirt with flames on it. And just like Freaking yo-yo, dude. It's so sick.
Dude, oh, it was so sick. Well, the frosted tips weren't a thing until I was in high school. So if you need a time frame, I started kindergarten. I started kindergarten in 1989, and then I graduated in 2002. So my elementary occupancy is the early 90s. And we had a yo-yo guy, and he was there. He had pictures with the president. Which was a great segue into the president.
Didn't exist.
No, it was real.
It was real.
Yeah. When we had so they started really like state testing, at least I grew up in Washington State. And so they started state testing. I remember I was in 6th grade. And this is actually going to tie into Ken Griffey Jr. if you want to do it. But it was a test called the WASL. WASL, whatever that stands for.
Now,
but I remember
that's a test I can get behind.
The WASL. And so we had to take the WASL, but it was like a pilot test. And so none of our teachers, I remember, again, these are the memories of a 6-year-old 30 plus years later, or a 6th grader like 30 years later. But we had to take it, and our teachers didn't take it seriously, and they didn't know how to administer it. And I remember there just wasn't a whole lot of test integrity, but they would there was you'd get pizza or something for trying, and they were basically free days, but it was okay, take this test. Now we got to do school stuff because we weren't really held accountable for it, and neither were our teachers. And then I went to junior high, and my teacher, Mr. Van Hooley, started opening up the test book because he was so pissed that we had to do it. And I remember, this is a core memory, there was a picture in it that we had to write a story about. And it was 2 people, and they were looking down in a stream. And you had to write a story that got them to this point, and then what happened after. And he was like, so you can write anything you want to. Maybe they're heroin junkies and they dropped their syringe into the creek. Who knows? Write whatever you want.
And that's why I became an English teacher.
That was my history teacher. That's what that man said.
And that's why we need more standardized testing.
And I always say we, but at least me. I was like, oh my God.
That's so awesome.
Maybe this isn't a thing we need to worry about, the WASL, because they were not taking that seriously at all. But so much so because they wanted kids there. But the Mariners had they tied at the end of the season, and they were a terrible baseball team. But again, Ken Griffey led. And so the Mariners made it to a tiebreaker game, and they had to beat the A's, and they were going to be in the playoffs. And it was during WASL. And I remember my dad came to pick me up, and he was acting like it was super serious, right? And he was like, Jake, we have to go. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I didn't know. And I got in the car, and there was a bag of McDonald's, and my dad had got us, so we didn't have money. I don't know where this came from, but my dad had got us front row. We were in the first row to go see the Mariners Angels tiebreaker game. It was the best day of my life. It was so dope, but I missed that stupid test. And I think that's why I remember WASL so well. Was because my dad, because it was the coolest experience of my entire childhood.
So maybe there is something to financing silly events like Coachella, but maybe it needs to come at the right time in your life, not when you're just now setting yourself up.
Or maybe your dad just takes it. And again, it's not maybe I'm a little hyped up on nostalgia. So 3 years ago tomorrow, my dad passed away, and I think of that story all the time. That was just the coolest. I don't know, makes me want to sign my kids out of school and go get a bag of fries.
I remember seeing, what movie was that where Mark Wahlberg adopts kids and he ends up doing that. He kind of conscripts them to work in his construction crew instead of go to school.
It's a baseball. They're a little baseball team.
I think
right?
they do
basically the Mighty Ducks, but baseball, and not and not Emilio Estevez with a DUI.
Yeah, I hear that story, and it makes me feel bad for all the times that I've gotten mad, even in the past couple of weeks, of kids skipping out of the state tests, and it's guys, we've been preparing for it. Oh my God, and our tests right now are separated weekly. We have one per week,
right,
which is different than the way we grew up. I grew up, but you kind of we took them consecutively within a week. and then we were done. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
These kids, they have it separated out, which
it's well, you keep going, because I just know what it's like on the parent end of it, like watching my elementary school kids take it, and it's like, this is their least favorite. My kids love school. And then for like 2 weeks they don't love school. That sucks. That part of it is so brutal for kids that love it. And again, it's the end of the year. And so like the end of the year used to be this time of like, I can't say used to be. In my experience, the end of the year was always this really like celebratory time, right? And you were with your friends and you were, I don't know, like ending stuff, and there were parties, like all the summer birthdays and like whatever. And now it's like, actually, we can't teach anything right now, and you have to take tests for up to 10 days. Or 8 or something just wild. Like every day there's a test, and then teachers can't assign stuff when they're not doing that. Like that, it's a garbage way to end the year. But then there's field day.
Yeah, for some kids, not us.
You guys don't get field day?
I don't think so. No one's mentioned it. There might be like a kickball game or something.
Oh, cool.
Like a staff kickball, the staff for students kickball game or something. But like
That'd be super fun.
Yeah, that would be super fun. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm on the team, but that would be super fun.
just going ham on them too, like just winning.
Just making them feel bad, but they just want to try as hard as they can.
Yes.
It might be staff
so
dodgeball,
cool to be even
actually.
chosen to compete.
Yeah.
Oh God, dodgeball would be brutal.
So fun. But I was going to go back to, like, it being the most miserable time of their lives for your kids. Like, obviously, It's the same for my kids. And I was like, guys, what? This is the other day, and this is for my English test. I was like, okay, the test is coming up this week. What can I do to incentivize you to just care, to just, like, want to do this? And they, joking or not, said, can you make us a salad? I was like, what?
Like Cobb or Caesar?
Yeah, right. Like Cobb, Caesar. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they're like, yeah, can you make us a salad? I was like, okay, I'll bring salad stuff. Sure as hell, like, we finish the test. I get out a salad bar, and they go to town on. I've never seen so many people enthusiastic about salads. And these are kids who normally bring in like hot chips at 7 a.m. They're eating the worst shit. Like everything RFK Jr. is trying to get rid of in this present moment. They're just like inhaling it every single day at 7 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you guys not have ulcers? It's insane. Yes. I get this salad for them.
You might be the best teacher I've ever heard of.
I just listened to their voices. That's all I did. It wasn't a water park. We didn't bring in a celebrity. They asked for salads. And I was like, okay. 3 of these kids said, I've never had a salad before. This is so good. One of them called it bussing, which I was like, I thought that was out. I thought we weren't using bussing anymore.
It was so good you brought back slang.
Yeah, that's...
You knocked them back 2 grades with their vocabulary, with how much this salad just knocked their boots off. That's incredible.
It was crazy. Yeah, they loved it too, and they asked for it again. And for their science test, I gave it to them again, and here we are. I might do it for the last math test that they have or something, because that's what's working for them.
That's going to be your thing, because I'm telling, at the end of every school year, so we've talked, I own a mobile bar, and my wife primarily operates it, but like, whatever, we had this old horse trailer, gutted it, turned it into this mobile bar, it does events. But as a result, I got to buy all this cool shit, including multiple snow cone machines. And so I started bringing that snow cone machine with me at the end of the school year. For the seniors' last day, my AP Lang test is always right around then. It's always right, my birthday's May 17th, so it's always like right in that wheelhouse, and we just celebrate everything. And the seniors get to cut in line, and I make snow cones between every class. And like, my high school has 1,800 kids. I mean, I pump out hundreds of snow cones in this one day. But there's something, I swear to God, they hear it. They're like, you got tiger's blood?
Oh yeah,
of course I have tiger. What kind of operation do you think I'm running? Clearly I have tiger's blood. Like, do you have blue? Yeah, I got blue. Of course I got blue. And like, they line up for snow cones, and I swear to you, it makes the biggest difference ever. Just, maybe it has something to do with just serving them food. And I mean, it's a snow cone. That's a pretty loose interpretation of food. But like, there's some, maybe just the act of like providing this thing. Not to say that other teachers don't do that with candy and all sorts of stuff, but like, I don't know. When you only do it once a year and you make an event out of it, all of a sudden a salad's a goddamn t-shirt cannon.
I was talking to my dad about it, and he was like, maybe like just he got like serious about it. Maybe they just like live in a food desert and they've never just had a salad. Like everything they have is artificial, is processed, and like even at the school, it's like the foods that we give out are not the chef's kiss like 5-star Gordon Ramsay thing, but like a salad looking green, freshly tossed. It's like, that's cool. Like that's something that someone wants to be a part. That's something at a steakhouse,
And I think that's something that maybe I'm overlooking, because I remember in junior high, so junior high was 7, 8, 9, and that's where I went to school. We had 7, 8, 9. But one of the things you could do for lunch, there was always a salad bar. It was there every single day. And so you could just pay your like buck or your dollar probably at that time, but you could pay your dollar and you just could go to the salad bar and just like stock up. It was only ranch dressing, and it was like, I don't know, like 4 things for your salad. And like, when they were basically just like tossed together, but that was always an option. And like, we kind of just went for the salad and then like pizza if they had it. And that was the meal that we had all the time. That would be a real loss to not have that at that age. Just being able to.
Life's changed, Rupp. The children, they don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah. Well, did you ever see the video of the lady that does Dinosaur Time?
Is that
Dinosaur Time
sing the songs, or
no. Dinosaur Time is the way that she gets in her like vegetables for the day. So basically, she just like bare hands lettuce and eats it as fast as as hard and fast as she can. She calls it Dinosaur Time, and this thing got like a ton of traction. It was a really popular post because that was just the way she did it. She's like, okay, done. I hated it, but she like turned it. It like had a theme, and so therefore it was cool. Man, the kids need lettuce.
The kids need lettuce. They need that vitamin K or whatever comes with lettuce.
So with this testing season thing, especially because you teach you teach the group of kids that effectively comes to me, right? And
sorry about that.
I whatever. At least I know they have their nutrients, but I don't give tests anymore. Like in any of my courses, I don't give any of them at all. Even like their final is a piece of writing, and then they self-evaluate it within the same block, and they turn it in, and that is their final. I don't give tests, and I swear that when I did, the amount of stress and pressure and the way the kids would just internalize it as a marker of their own personal value, I always blamed that primarily on the standardized test that they were given up to that point in their academic career. Like, and I couldn't participate in it because it didn't feel like it was working out in the space that I was teaching. Like, we had to do something else. I mean, that's one of the main like exigences for me getting rid of grades entirely and letting them self-assess. Like, those numbers were too much. It negates the thing I'm trying to teach because it becomes a currency. I hated it. And I can even see that with my own kids. Like, they just get so worried about tests. Like, I don't know. So much so that now test anxiety is like a thing we diagnose. But I think it's also a thing that we create.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Only if you don't want to be my friend anymore. Never start a sentence like that. Just follow your heart. Say what you need to say.
Well, I'm just like thinking about people who, say, this kind of thing prepares them for college, and like there are definitely classes where I didn't have tests and I learned through projects and stuff like that, and kind of the things that you're describing. But there were definitely core classes that I needed to graduate with in order to prove that I am competent in whatever skill, whatever degree. And it was like, do this test, that kind of thing. Do you think that there is benefit in having state testing?
I think that there's I think there's a benefit to the style of learning that you just discussed. Like, I think one of the things that I took a whole course on it actually, but one of the things that we always use as a bad word is like rote memorization. Like, we use memorization as this bad word, but in reality, if you don't remember the thing that you learned, you didn't learn shit. It never happened. And so with that, like, you have to, there's a space where memorization and learning those things is valuable. Your ability to then utilize those maybe isn't a thing that necessarily needs to be tested, but it can still be assessed. Like, you can still do work and have that work get feedback and marked right or wrong without it being a high pressure situation necessarily. I would venture to say that of the students I teach on a day to day basis, probably 95% of them are college bound. Right. I teach 9 honors, I teach AP Lang, and I teach seniors that chose a class where they can read books. So, like, these kids are going to college. They're almost entirely going to college. And so I don't know. I can teach them how to be in a class, and I can teach them the skills to learn the thing. And then I just don't feel like test taking as a skill is a thing that I need to teach for the future. If I can, like, I teach SAT prep, like, because that's a class that's for a test. And so, like, you signed up for it because you have to take the SAT, and so you want to do that. And I can teach the time management part of it, but I don't think the pressure ever gets easier. Like, you just continue to take tests and feel concerned about them, I think. I don't know. I don't want them to get used to taking tests because, I don't know.
Life
if I'm
just
working,
tests, yeah.
If I'm working so hard to get them comfortable to take tests, then why can't I just start with the thing that they're comfortable with and assess them from that? Like,
you're asking
like that
too good of questions. Don't bring that up to the Colorado Department of Education.
I want Teacher of the Year so bad. Give it to me, state. I love a good award, but really, that's where I think I'm at. So I look at, like, these tests are important because of the data they provide to others, but it's not important to that kid. So I think it's a necessary evil. Like, you're not going to get rid of it, but I don't need that data when I can get it elsewhere. I can still put things on a rubric and keep that rubric, and I have my data point without then saying you get this many points because of where you landed on the rubric.
For one test that you took that one time when your dad said, "Oh, I'm gonna take you to the Mariners tie game with the A's."
Right. Man, I'll never know where I stood on, like, Waffle Day 2. I won't, but I know the Mariners won in extras. No, it wasn't even close. I'm thinking of a different game. It wasn't even close. The Mariners smoked them.
And that was clearly more important to 6th grade you. You said
it's more important to every me and every version of every person.
Man, just imagine. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad I could play devil's advocate. Now I'm going to return to the papacy and become pope.
There you go. See, that the popes asked the challenging questions. Without a pope couldn't advocate for the devil, could he?
Ooh.
That would be a bad trait.
I mean, it depends on your theology of the devil. There's a mixed bag of things within Western Orthodoxy.
Oh my God, C is for sacrilege. Okay, when we talk about then, C was childhood. So C is for childhood. Was childhood better pre-internet? Did you have a childhood pre-internet at all? I mean, because you had to have been born in what, like the mid-90s, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're rolling back to DARPA, which was found in like the 70s, technically we both...
We're not.
But like the common era of the internet, I did exist without. Like, I remember we first got dial-up when we moved to a suburb of Houston, because we were living in rural Houston up until then. My parents had like a ranch house and cows and all that. It was like super awesome. Like such a, like a
awesome.
wonderland growing up as a kid and with like 4 siblings. Like every day was an adventure kind of deal. Then we moved to the suburbs. We got dial up, and I remember booting up RuneScape for the first time, and that was
Ooh.
awesome. That was so good. They just came out with a new updated game version of RuneScape that I really want to get my hands on, but I just don't have a good computer. This is what the internet did to me.
You don't have enough. I fell down a rabbit hole today looking up Myst. Did you play Myst?
Myst. It sounds familiar. What?
Oh, never. You keep going with RuneScape then. I thought this would be like a worthwhile point of conversation within a bigger one. We don't have to worry about it. Keep on going with RuneScape.
Is it a civilization building game?
No, Myst was a game that we had in the early 90s for like whoever had enough money to have a home computer. You had Myst. And it was a game, you didn't die. There were no villains. There were no bad guys. You had to solve puzzles on this island so you could then there were 2 brothers that were trapped in books, and you had to collect the pages to get them out of these books, because they each said the other one trapped them. And so you had to go through these like completely empty worlds, and you like clicked and then it took you to the next scene and the next scene, and you had to try and solve these crazy hard puzzles. It was so hard, and it wasn't like you could cheat because there was nowhere to really look it up. You just had to figure out Myst unless some kid figured it out on your block.
It's crazy. I was thinking about that this week. It's crazy how we ever got through any games as kids when everything would just be word of mouth. Like, yeah, unless you had like enough money when I was a kid to buy Game Informer subscriptions, and then they would give you walkthroughs, which maybe some
Nintendo Power
did. Yeah, Nintendo Power. Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
It was a big deal. So okay, so you remember getting dial-up, getting RuneScape, but I mean, most of your like educational career, right? So like from like late elementary on,
from 5th
the internet was pretty reliable, right?
Yeah, I'd say reliable. It was there. And we talked about a couple weeks ago about having computer labs. Like the internet was something I could access exclusively with a computer in a place with a connection, which was like probably maybe 30 minutes, a couple days a week or something.
Yeah. You had time. Yeah. We had 2 computers in our classroom. I'm talking elementary now, so this is 96 and before. And we had a couple of computers in the classroom. They definitely didn't have internet though, but you could like play games. You could play games on them, and like Number Munchers and Oregon Trail, and they were just so cool. Like who could shoot the most squirrels, and play like with word art, right? Yeah. And like that was the technology that we had accessible to us. Does that make my childhood better than like kids with the internet? I mean, I think it pushed a little bit more creativity on us to go do stuff, but I don't know that it was necessarily better. It was just different variables.
I'm going to take off my Pope hat again and put on the devil's advocate hat again.
Yep.
I did this coding camp a couple of years ago for Roblox. Okay. I'd never played Roblox before. But I was leading the summer camp, and the kids were experts in it. I was just kind of the guy in the room to make sure that they weren't like, doing anything crazy. And they were showing me how to play it. And the kids who are still into gaming and exploring online, like that creative energy is still there. It's just they're designing their own games, or they're finding new games. It's kind of crazy how it kind of shifted into something else. I don't think necessarily we had more of like a creative bend to us pre-internet. I think it's kind of similar levels, honestly. It just looks different, and it's easy to complain about because maybe we had like less access to it.
I think when I'm talking again about the 90s, I think part of that had to do with, how do I want to say it? When you were bored, there wasn't like a passive thing to do, right? Like, sure, you could watch TV, but it had commercials, and you could only watch what was on, right? There was nothing on demand. You could play video games, but they weren't online, so you're essentially campaigning or playing the same levels of Mario Kart over and over and over again, or like trying to beat Zelda or whatever. But like, there were being bored didn't just have a thing where you could just like sit there and be like on a phone, for instance, for a really long amount of time.
Disagree. Did you have world books, world book encyclopedias? Like the sets of encyclopedias?
I know what they are. I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
but like I didn't.
My parents would go to garage sales to specifically buy them. And like when we were bored, that's what we did. We would just like open up like, okay, World Book letter E. What kinds of things are going to be in the World Book letter E?
We would. Okay,
it was so
but
cool.
Again, there's like a we, right? Because I had one friend growing up, like all up until like ninth grade. I had one friend, but like we would like go through the phone book and like prank call people, like like that was a thing. We'd make up like idiotic games. We'd do really like dangerous stuff, or we'd go outside and play basketball for like all day, or we'd go jump on the trampoline and we're like, well, this is boring, let's put a sprinkler under it. And so then we do that, and then it was like, well, this is boring, let's keep the sprinkler under it, but then put on our rollerblades. And then like and so like we're doing like increasingly dangerous things. I don't know that this is leading towards a conclusion about better or worse, but like I don't know. It's when I think of those students at a Roblox camp, they are seeking out that creative outlet in something where other people can also do the same thing and not be creative. But I don't know what it was. I'm looking at my childhood as from the perspective of a child. Like, I think that was a long time ago, man.
Right. Yeah. Nostalgia is a beast too.
100%. It truly, truly is. I mean, so we talked about like the music saturation, right? Mm-hmm. And like the idea that, my daughter can listen, she's hearing songs I've never even heard of in my life. Whereas if my parents had any sort of interest, for instance, in like rap or alternative music, if they had just turned on the radio for 3 days, they would know every song that I know. There was no exposure to anything beyond that, like as a child, but it was mainstream music, or that was it. That was why when like Napster came out, I could get all of this music, and it was like just so unreal, like whole albums that I didn't have to go and buy CDs for, because buying a CD was an investment. What if those songs suck? But there was no other way to hear it unless you went to like Sam Goody and went to one of the late listening stations where you could like put in the CD and like test drive the album in the store. Have you ever seen Empire Records?
No.
Oh my God, that's what they do in Empire Records. That was what it was like.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, it's like it's a 90s teen movie about a day at this record store because this guy gambles away the entire deposit, so they can't make their payment, so they're going to have to sell it. And so it's just one day of like all these kids basically like about to lose their jobs at this cool record store. Ethan Embry's in it, like a young Ethan Embry. It was awesome. But that's what it was like. But I say that because I remember then I was able to discover music, and that being so different than anything else that I had been able to do up to that. I could discover like this new thing and like show it to my friends, and the internet opened that up. And that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain on like I'm not a kid, but I feel like that energy is still out there. It's just like you said, it's the saturation of it all. Like these kids can just. Oh, so go ahead. Well, I'm just like. Oh my God! Shut up! I'm just thinking, like, a kid listens to, or they're on TikTok, they scroll and they find this, anime edit, and they get turned on to this new anime, or they get turned on to some sort of drawing skill, or they learn how to edit clips together, and it's like that's how they engage with that sort of creative drive it just looks different. It's more available to them. I still think the
No,
kids are all right.
I think the kids are spectacular.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And it's with that, like that sort of spirit of discovery. Like I remember then, like even on AOL, I remember learning how on AOL you could like do stuff because you used to have a little profile page, but there was ways that you could like put in certain symbols and it would like space it out, or you could put in like, I don't know what they're called, those 6-digit like color codes. Like
Hex
I can't think of
codes?
like X codes. Okay, that's what I had in my
The
head. I didn't know if it was right
6-digit
though.
codes? Come on.
You
You're an
could, you
English
could
teacher.
put look. I was there. And so, but you could put those in and like change the color, or you
Yep.
could change the font on your profile. And then like I remember calling my friend and being like, look at my profile now. And he's like, how did you do that? And like I had discovered that. It was, what I'm saying is that was a creativity at that point that like I had to seek out, because I could have very easily just like been in a chat room, or like, like I could have consumed it, or I could have created it. Whereas before there wasn't like anything to, I don't know, I guess there was TV. Maybe I'm misremembering the power of TV.
Okay, there is something that I wanted to talk about with TV and like the availability of it, or lack thereof.
Yes.
It's like you had to anticipate things. I only could exclusively watch TV, my kind of TV, Saturday mornings, right? And these kids
Mhm.
have so many options to watch whatever they want. Now, is that a good thing? I don't know. And I feel like like we've seen a downfall um, in media storytelling and all that as time as streaming has come out and more demands have been put on people creating these kinds of medias.
It gives you a space to explore your interests. That's
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, I
Right? It
guess
gives,
it's yeah.
and so like that part is cool. But like I remember on Friday nights, my dad would do the chains at like the high school football game. It was like high school football was a big deal, and so he would do the chains with his buddies. Like that was his fun adult friend thing, was that he would do that. And so I would always go to the football games, and like that made me feel important. But by going to the football games on Fridays, I missed X-Files. And so we had to make sure, and TGIF, I missed TGIF. So my dad would put in, we had two VCRs because you couldn't like switch channels, of course. So like one VCR was for TGIF and then the other VCR was for X-Files, so that like we could make sure that like I could see those shows, because if you missed them, you had nothing to talk to your friends about,
Right.
because you didn't see the new episode. You missed it.
I You just brought back a memory of mine that I totally forgot. I was the person in my family to take old VHSs, or like my parents would just like stockpile random ones, and I would record the movies that would be on TV,
Yes.
and like that was me. And like whenever they would go back and rewatch it, they'd never thanked me, and that's just
Yeah.
my middle child syndrome kicking in. I was just like really searching for their approval.
Oh yeah. Well, and even yeah, and so I don't know if that's necessarily better, right? Because now my schedule is not controlled by the entertainment I consume, because I can do it whenever I want to and then do other stuff whenever I want to do it. Whereas like at 8 o'clock, when the good shows come on after Jeopardy's over, like you had to be there to watch it. You couldn't. That was a thing. You saw it then, or you didn't get a chance to see it. And I guess depending on how important popular media is to you, like you could have missed those things. Like you couldn't miss award shows. You couldn't miss the VMAs. You couldn't miss the new episode of Real World. Like those things, you had to see those.
Yeah, that's crazy. And imagine just
Yeah.
not being a part of that discussion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, because that's what water cooler talk was,
Right.
right? Did you see the Super Bowl? Did you see those commercials? Because it's not like you had a platform to then go and watch them later. You had to see those guys drinking Budweisers and going like, "What's up?" and like the frogs doing it. You couldn't miss that.
What'd you watch
Like
on
Geico
Lost
did.
this week?
Like Geico did what? They have a caveman? That's incredible. Hold on, my wife give me 1 second.
You got it.
Would you rather raise kids in the time that you grew up or now?
Like children or goats?
Children. Raise children, or do you think, actually, take that back. Here's my question. Would you rather teach in the time that you went to school or teach now?
Oh, that's a question. The time that I really like teaching now. I think.
I do too.
Yes. All right. Podcast over.
Yeah. Is that it? Just are you just looking for validation? Whatever.
I don't know. First of all, I think I'm really good at existing and communicating in the space that I'm in right now, and
Mhm.
like going to difficult places scares me, which is why I
Yeah.
don't go outside or go on dates. I okay. I just feel like, first of all, my teachers didn't really understand me, and I feel like I'm able to have a foot on the culture so that I can understand my students a little bit better right now.
Mhm.
It just felt like adults and or like yeah, adults and kids were just like two separate worlds, and like I try my best to show my kids that we exist together. Like you are not, I'm not more valuable than you. You're not more valuable than me. Like we are, like we're both in this situation now. Like where authority comes in and like my position as a teacher and discipline, all that is complex and it's like a conversation for another time, I guess. But I feel like now I can, be a little bit more connected with them in a way that really matters. I don't know.
I think that makes a difference. I remember distinctly being in fourth grade in my music class, and we had a student teacher in there, and we were supposed to talk about the music we were really into. Now, keep in mind, this would be 1994, and we were right outside of Seattle. So we all just said we loved grunge, right? It's Nirvana. Nirvana's the bet. Like, it always has been. We're all just the biggest Nirvana. None of us had even heard a full album, right? But like our brothers listened to it, so it was like Nirvana. And I remember that music teacher putting on a Tears for Fears album. Like that was the thing, and we laughed at it and we made fun of it, and it was like that wasn't really even all that much beforehand, right? But like there was no exposure to anything except what was current unless your parents happened to play it. You weren't going to like just run into these other things. And so we just like clowned on it. Whereas I look at some of the music that even my seventh grader listens to, and it's like, where did you hear Taking Back Sunday? Like where did this even come from? How do you have Dear Maria, Count Me In? Like how are you knowing this? That's 20 years old. Like that's amazing, and they're into it because it's not like, oh, this is old. Like they don't know Pepper didn't know when Taking Back Sunday existed. It was just cool because you don't know every current thing.
Yeah. So
So
so where does that put you? You said you would rather teach today.
I would way rather teach now. But
Okay.
I'm looking at it from a different spot. Like the education that I received, elementary, I remember all of my teachers' names. I remember where I sat. Like I remember all of those things. I could go from kindergarten through sixth grade and tell you the names of my teachers and like what I could draw a map of the building and tell you where I was at. That was excellent. But I also then remember my education being a pure assessment of if I had memorized stuff. And that was it was not skills based. There was not me learning how to. My wife and I talk about that because we went to high school together. Like our education was bad. It was, it was not great. And so when I see then people on the internet my age talking about like we don't do it how we used to, like thank fucking God. Are you kidding? It was horrible. What do you guys remember? Because it was awful. And so much so that I don't there's a real like strong empowerment currently of like people that just graduated high school and were like, I'm done learning. And so that's where the learning stopped. And so now I'm just that's the cap of what I know. And I don't think that the kids that we are graduating out into the world are under any kind of presumption that I don't think they think about learning, but they're not done. I think they are continuing to learn and change and evolve. Whereas I think high school was kind of or even college, but like that was like the end that, well, I'm done learning now. I've got it. And so you want to change stuff? God, kids these days. So I would way rather teach now because I think teaching then was so easy to be bad at. Like to just make I think there was just such a space to make no real. I even if you want a testament to it, go look at old AP tests and what used to be on them. AP Lang test, which is the class I teach that I believe in, that I love so much. You go and look at the old AP tests or even the old SATs, their vocabulary. You have to have studied you had to have studied the words to be able to answer them. And if you had not studied the words, they couldn't assess your skills because they were assessing if you'd studied for that thing specifically, right? AP tests, you used to have to know the names of like, do you know the difference between a polysyndeton and an asyndeton? Do you? How about epistrophe versus anaphora? Do you know? Are you up on that? Like, of course you don't. But if you could there was parallel structure occurring and every one of these sentences was starting with the same word for a reason, then you would know what that was. Like, man, there's a bunch of commas in here. I don't need to know that that's a syndeton, right? Like, that's the choice because we're teaching the skill and not the name of the skill. That's way fucking better.
You just made me feel like a dumbass.
Why? Whatever. We had the same answer.
I know, but the words the multisyllabic words you just used, and I was like, okay, some of these are sounding familiar. I just teach middle schools. I haven't gone over them in so long.
But you know who else doesn't know those words? My students. I don't teach those. Fair. Do I know them? I 100% know them. I can teach you the name of it. Like if you want to know those things, I can teach you though. If you are looking for a word to use, if you ask me, like they're doing this thing where the same phrase is used at the beginning of these sentences. Like, there's a word for that. That's called anaphora. Like that's the word for that if you want to know it. So you could say the choice of the anaphoric beginning, and then like if you want the word, I'll give it to you. But you don't need to know that to demonstrate that you recognize the choice and its intent. And I like that part of what I do versus trying to teach them that to see if they know the word.
Yeah.
That's dumb. But that was my education. That was what the focus was for me.
Yeah, I feel like I was kind of on the edge of that, like in elementary school, and like there might be a little bit of a distillation or misremembering of my elementary school experience because it was elementary school, but because like elementary school is built to be real, like whatever your impression of it is, rote. It's like you're supposed to remember these specific. Yeah, like kids are thinking in concrete terms, and then as you go to middle school, high school, it starts becoming more expressive and like different ways of meeting standards.
I didn't know what education looked like in elementary school, right? And until my kids were in it, is what I'm saying. And I was so pumped when they had to do times tests, right? Like, because that was having those things memorized makes your life measurably easier. That is useful every single day of your life. Like, that sort of thing is where memorization, hell yeah. And if it's an assessment, okay, great. But like they were always allowed to retake them and they do them a whole bunch. It was just like a thing they would almost do every day. Right. And it was like, I remember doing that. And I think that is unless multiplication changes, knowing what those things are off the top of your head makes your life easier and therefore is a valuable skill. Do you think so? I'm talking about the education though. What about the behavior? Like are kids rowdier at this point than you think they were when you were in that classroom?
I've thought about this before, and I think I might have mentioned it before. It's like, I think I was in the gifted and talented kids class, and I never saw problem behaviors, so I have that bias in my experience. There might have been like some crazy ADHD kids running around and whatnot and causing mischief and mayhem. I mean, I don't feel like I heard about threats on schools as much, which
Sure.
I feel like has increased. I don't know the data behind it, but we're two guys with a microphone, so we can make
Right.
informed opinions or uninformed opinions. Yeah, I think especially in that way that there's been a behavioral shift, and maybe it's access to media, maybe it's overstimulation or undiagnosed this or that or the other. I think behaviors have changed since we were kids, and maybe that is like a, oh no, I don't like that face you're making. It makes me feel like a dumbass.
No, I agree with you. Why? Since when am I the fucking like the sage on the stage? Like I'm just thinking, because again, like you're talking about a time period and I'm talking about a different one. And so like we're not, like you have yours and I have mine. These are different by like a good chunk of time. Like, what year do you graduate?
2014.
Okay, you started school when I finished it.
Like college or no?
I
wait,
graduated. I graduated high school in 2002.
Oh.
Right. So we're talking about a completely different experience. From fourth grade on, I could have been your teacher. I started teaching in 2006.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the party. You're telling me I started year 20 in the fall.
How was it with No Kid Left Behind?
I look here. So this is the point that I was gonna kind of make is like when we talk about behaviors, right? I think a huge shift, and I'm not exactly sure when this happened, but there's a huge shift from when I was young to now, and it obviously happened a while ago, where like there was no, once especially you hit like junior high, there was no expectation that your teacher was gonna be entertaining. That they were expected to engage you. They were assigning work, and the expectation was that you did it. And if you didn't do it, then you failed. It wasn't like this world of interventions that was going on in the late 90s and early 2000s. I went to school with kids that didn't pass their classes and did not graduate. That was that, right? And so there was no incentive for a teacher necessarily to be interesting aside from their own interest in their job being fun in that reason. Like of course I had engaging teachers and people, and like those things definitely occurred, but I don't think that was part of the job description. You didn't, that just wasn't a factor in it. These classes could be boring as hell. Here's the book, here's the textbook, here are the questions you're going to answer out of it. And so just you're doing that because that is what this class is. And then that was it. And those people had been teaching for a very, very long time, might still be teaching now for all I know. And so there was that. And then there's now where like, if a kid's not engaged, there's a conversation that happens there. And that's a different world to be in. So when we talk about it getting rowdy,
yeah.
Right? So like being rowdy and disrespectful is now a symptom of an issue instead of what used to maybe just be like being boisterous, right? But like now it's being caused by something, so we have to get to the root of that and then put in these interventions in place. I'm not saying that's necessarily for the worse.
Right.
But I don't know. Again, I was only a student then. I wasn't teaching these classes. It was me and my friends. And so like maybe it was happening. I don't think that education in the year 2000 resembled 2025 in the idea of like, well, if they're not interested, what's going on?
Yeah, what are you doing wrong? Yeah.
or what are they doing? It just wasn't there. I don't know. You failed, you went to summer school. That was that. It's like, man, that's not really putting a whole lot of accountability on an educator. I'm not saying it's always their fault, but like, well, you fail. Well, their class is hard.
Also, where did teachers back then get their resources from? Like
the textbook.
Oh, it would just be they would just order a textbook. I feel so dumb for asking this.
No, you shouldn't, because you weren't there. You have no reason to know that. No. So in every class on the first day, you got assigned a textbook and you wrote your name inside of it, and that was your book. And you always had to have it. And so you put all of those things in your locker. And then if you had homework, you had to take those textbooks home so that you could do the work. Because even if you had a handout, where are you going to get the information from, right? So you had those textbooks, and then you had to go home and you had to do those questions out of that textbook. And like that was the material. Now, was that necessarily curriculum? Like, you have to do this? What else was there to do?
Yeah. Huh.
where were they going to go in 1990? Where were you going to go? You're going to make copies of the encyclopedia, because you could go grab the world books. Where are all the world books? Oh, they're at Mikey's house. So what are we going to use? Like, it was like that. And so that was the material. And so I think teachers were definitely limited by that also. You couldn't just go find stuff and do it. It was different.
That's bizarre. That's so bizarre to think about, with all the things that I individually make and all the teachers I know online that individually make so many materials now. It's just so bizarre thinking of teaching being out of like a singular textbook,
or the books that you had available to you in the library or the book room. Right.
And I guess, I never really thought about how having class sets of books of like novels or whatever was so valuable. It's like, that's your whole thing.
And so in defense of the kids these days, because I will always just ride or die there, like, the reason they might get rowdy and disrespectful is because their general education experience, they recognize the potential for it to be interesting.
Huh.
And so like, when it's not, then it's like, well, then what are we doing here? Because I know that this doesn't have to be terrible. And I know that people will pay attention to me. And so you're not, and it's not of interest, then I'm out. And that doesn't mean that teachers are necessarily bad, but like, if they don't find you specifically interesting, they recognize they found somebody else interesting. And so now we have an issue. Like, they have higher standards.
Yeah.
Because it's better now.
Which is why teachers deserve a higher pay. Bring it back to that opinionated girl from last week.
Did you watch the one this is my generation. I don't want a blanket statement, but like, when there's things that annoy me about people my age, one of them, did you see the creator that I stitched about the decimals?
Yeah. The lady who was mad about her fourth grader not like knowing math and failing. It's like,
yeah, because again, because she stopped learning.
Yeah.
She stopped learning.
She said, high school's done, I'm done.
Yeah, I did it. I graduated. I graduated from education. Like, and I don't know. I just don't. I think in an age where you are constantly now surrounded by information and new ideas and new music and new whatever, you can't stop learning. It is impossible. You cannot stop. You have to literally try not to. So we don't have to speak it out. You have to avoid it. I don't know. I don't think my students are disrespectful or rowdier than I think they probably in 06. I think they were rowdier than they are in 25.
Less medication for sure.
I don't know. It was a fun time to teach though, but like, I think they were rowdier then because not everything was being documented at that point too. Like, their accountability was maybe a bit lower, but at that point, I don't know. When I was young, nothing was being documented, but we had a hell of a time, but people just never found out.
You know what I like that we haven't said anything about, like, corporal punishment. That came up today. Like, someone was
what?
Yeah, like,
why?
It's still legal in Texas. Like, you can still beat kids, and like, oh my God. Why do you guys think that works? It's not like
how
It's not like the human.
So when you say that you can, is this like a thing that people implement, or is it like one of those laws they never got rid of? Like it's illegal to ride a horse through town on Sunday. Like, or is this like a legitimate like we bring out the switch?
A board, paddle board.
You're full of shit.
It's a real thing.
That's true.
It happens every day.
No, it does not happen every day.
It happens every day.
Be fucking for real.
Hey,
like in your district. What are you saying?
It's not me. I'm not saying it's me. And like,
but is it down the hall or is it like across the city? Like,
okay. We need to go into a C's for corporal punishment.
Education. I got it, but
like it's something that parents sign and that they can like they volunteer their kids to take part in if they ever mess up. It happens. Like it happens. And like I'm always making the case like with these kids. I'm like, this is not what I think should work. Like I was never beat as a kid. My parents taught me critical thinking, and like I feel like a fully functional human. I don't think that this is how we help kids develop. I think it sets them back. If anything, you learn violence is a means of productivity, and I'm like, that is something. That's something.
I don't have one thing to add to what you just said. I agree with every word of it. That crazy.
Yeah, this will probably be where my conversation ends on this specific topic. Maybe where our conversation ends overall for tonight, because it's an hour 30.
Yeah. No, oh my God. We're going to end with me dumbfounded.
Hey, now you know how it feels.
Okay. All right. In sum, when we to wrap up the whole conversation, I think it is crucial, and I think it's something that I think about all the time, about what my education was like versus what education it is that I'm offering to my students. And I think that is something that comes up in my planning a lot. I think of the way that I taught in 06 and the assignments that I did. I still have some of them like to look at. I would never give them, but like as points of reference, like what was I really trying to do here? And I can compare that to then and make improvements. And so perhaps if as educators, we are still giving the same assignments that we remember loving in high school, perhaps there's a better option because kids don't need to be building the Globe Theater still.
Damn. Okay, Shakespeare over here wordsmithing.
I had a student in 2006 tell me that a soliloquy was what happens when you mix a solid and a liquid.
And words are made
like
up.
Corn syrup.
I'm down
like
with
corn
that.
syrup.
Making some oobleck.
And it's 06, so he spelled corn with a K. And that is where we can end this episode.
It was great talking to you, Jake.
I can't wait to see you on Thursday next week.
I'm going to WWE tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for we call it affectionately around these parts Dead Dad Day. But for Dead Dad Day, we go and get big cheeseburgers. We get big cheeseburgers, and then I wear a shirt and I unbutton it down to here because that's what Mike Rupp used to do. So it's just chest hair out. Eating cheeseburgers. That's
so fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. It's a day I used to not look forward to, and then the first year was tough, but then the last few years, I don't know. It's kind of a nice day.
Yeah.
It becomes a nice day.
I'm happy for you. I'll wear a couple of buttons undone for you too.
That's the move. Oh, Mike Rupp would have loved that. Okay. Well, then we need a C for next week. I thought we had one at the beginning. Forget what it is.
A C is for Chapel Roan.
C is for Cardi B.
C is for all female artists, because let's go through a tier list of all of our favorite women in the world. Next week, we name 100 women off the top of our brains.
Oh my! Could you imagine?
We go back and forth until someone stops, and whoever loses is clearly the worst.
Okay. We might be onto something here, and this episode cut so long ago, but like we might be onto something here because are you on Dudes Naming Dudes TikTok?
No, I'm not.
Oh my god. Okay. So Dudes Naming Dudes TikTok is basically just like, hey, name a running back, go. And then the comments are just like just naming, and then like every once in a while they bring up some dude that's like super obscure, but you sort of remember from fantasy football in like 2003, and then it has like 150 likes. They're like, nice poll, like nice poll. Like, there's no criteria. Nice you're like naming dudes, and maybe what if we just had a podcast where we're just naming women? You're like Chappell Roan. I'm like Whitney Houston, and then you're like JoJo, and I'm like, good poll.
Didn't expect that.
That's nice.
Not even the JoJo you're thinking about. The grocery store lady at my local Walmart. Her name's JoJo.
But there's no like discussion of the merits of it. It's just like this understood that like JoJo, sick,
good pull,
thick.
All right, I'll end the call.
C is for chicks. Okay, bye.
C is for chicks.